Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome into the HearSports Podcast Show. I'm Kyle Newman, your host.
And I'm Rhett Hensley, your co-host.
On this show, anything sports goes, whether professional, college, or even high school. Debate is highly likely, laughter is always encouraged, good times is a given, and hashtag great sports talk will be a reoccurring theme. Today we will talk about the NBA Finals, the upcoming NFL season, Tiger Woods, and Roger Goodell. Rhett Hensley, we're on our third HearSports show here. We're almost a month in. This is exciting. How are you doing today, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. Glad to be working with you.
I'm always glad to be working with you, too. I'm glad you're doing okay, and you're smiling. You're happy. This is good.
I know. Happy stuff. Good stuff today.
Absolutely. Sports is always good to talk about, and we have a lot to
Laughter
talk about.
is likely.
It always is. We already started it out right off the bat. But we have a lot to get to, so let's get into the NBA Finals. It's been a juicy series so far. Let's start with Game 1, Rhett. Cleveland lost 108-100 in overtime.
That's a given.
Cleveland shouldn't have lost. We'll get to that. But I want to get your thoughts on Game 1, and then I'll get into it.
Boy, it was a juicy one. I'll tell you what. LeBron James, 44 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists.
Monster.
The man just took over. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter if you take over if you can't finish a game.
That's right.
Exactly. And, Curry had 26 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, which is pretty good, pretty great. I'll take that. But Kyrie Irving going down, fracturing his kneecap, that right there, I think, was the deal breaker for the Cavaliers. I think that got them in a weird funk in overtime. And LeBron, I don't think he could hit a shot in the overtime. And
they didn't score
they
until
hit
the very end.
They hit
2 points.
Yeah, they hit 2 points. And the Warriors just took over. And once the Warriors get hot, they're hard to stop.
It was the worst overtime that I've ever seen from a team. They clearly lost all of the momentum. But this, Rhett, to me, was a crazy game and very entertaining. But James took this team on his back. There's no doubt about that. And what you saw, unfortunately, was a Kyrie who could not stay healthy, went down with an unfortunate injury. You saw a team that dominated the Warriors for 3 quarters, and then when it came to the fourth quarter, they went away from their bread and butter that was working. First of all, they were rebounding machines. The Cavs were, and Tristan Thompson, was looking like Shaq, the Diesel, in this one.
Sure was.
I mean, it was incredible. And basically, it was a game where they had dominated and they'd gotten to the hoop for 3 quarters. And then when the fourth quarter came, they didn't. They got away from it. They started settling for jumpers. And that's what you can't do against this Golden State team. And what happened when they did? They got back into it. And the crowd got back into it. And so pretty soon, it was a 3-point game, and oh my gosh, the Warriors are down 1 now, and the Warriors just took the lead. I mean, that's what happened, and it was because they started settling for jump shots, and it was on LeBron too. I'll say this, they made the wrong decision at the end of the game, not for him to have the ball in his hands, but to take the jump shot for the game winner. I'll never understand it. They did it right in Game 2. Didn't work out at the end of regulation. We'll get to that in a second, but he shouldn't have taken the jump shot. He should have gone to the hoop. They had the beast Tristan Thompson down there to try and rebound. They had it set up, but instead he settles for a step-back jump shot with the hand in his face, not the way to try and beat the Warriors. And that's what happened. It was a recipe for disaster. They did the same thing in overtime. They were settling for jump shots, didn't have one good look, and that's, quite frankly, why they lost the game. You got to tip your hat to the Warriors, and especially Steph Curry. He started getting hot, and the crowd got behind them, and they were able to pull one out. The Cavs really let one slip away, but when I look back at Game 1 there, I mean, that's what I saw. James was 18 of 38 from the field, not great, but again, he did play 46 minutes. He took this team on his back, without Kyrie at the end of the game there, and without Kevin Love. Who else is going to step up? And they didn't have it because they started settling for jump shots, and that's unfortunate for them. But really, I was just impressed with how the Warriors fought back in this game, because I honestly thought that wow, Cleveland's going to steal Game 1 here. I was sure of it for 3 quarters, and then it started to dwindle away. And there were 13. It was a crazy game. 13 lead changes, 11 ties. Warriors shot just a little better from the field, 44% to the Cavs, 41%. The Warriors out-rebounded the Cavaliers by 3, which surprised me because they didn't on the offensive glass, because Tristan Thompson seemed to have about 10 offensive rebounds.
Monster.
At the right time. I'm impressed with him. I've been saying all along, even after Game 2, he's literally rebounding like the Diesel himself. It's incredible, the effort. He reminds me of Tyler Hansbrough on the Pacers when he would just give relentless effort to get a rebound. That's what he does. It's encouraging to watch. But the Cavs got out assisted too, 24-19. So when you look at the stats, you really aren't surprised that the Warriors won the game. But if you watched the game and you saw the first 3 quarters, you might have been surprised that they came out. But you want to know who else was a problem for them in Game 1? That would be the inconsistency of J.R. Smith, who started out pretty hot in the first half, hit all 3 of his threes. Then in the second half, he got a little cold, finished 3 of 13 from the field, didn't hit one more. That's an issue for this Cleveland Cavaliers team when you don't have someone else that can step up. They brought in Shumpert and they brought in Smith to help, especially now that Kyrie's out. They're going to need that, and they didn't get that in Game 1, Rhett.
No, they did not. Amon Shumpert had 6 points.
Yeah.
But J.R. Smith shot awful in the second half. So, they're not. They have a deep team when they can play. And when they can't, J.R. Smith, he's very inconsistent, but he can have his games, and we've seen that before. And they can be a dangerous team without Kyrie Irving with their bench. So, really, it's gonna be a heck of a series.
It really is. And we mentioned Kyrie Irving, who really did go down with an unfortunate injury on a bizarre just slip on the court. It's really unfortunate. You hate to see this, but you kind of see Kyrie's career kind of mimicking Derrick Rose's with these knee injuries, and it's really sad to see with how great of a player he is. He did finish with 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. Pretty darn impressive, if you ask me, but is out for the playoffs now with that injury. He got replaced by Matthew Dellavedova, who we'll get to here in a second for Game 2, but that it was an impressive game all around, very exciting. The Cavs went down 1-0, but then there was a Game 2 last night at Golden State, and Rhett, I thought I was watching a rerun of the same game, Game 1. This game was almost identical. Literally went the exact same down the stretch, except this time Cleveland pulled it out in overtime, 95-93, found a way and weren't going to let it happen again. This was an awesome game to watch, and what you had is the best player in the world, LeBron James, take this team on his back once again without Kyrie.
Incredible.
He had a heck of a performance. Triple-double, 39 points, 16 rebounds, 11 assists in 50 minutes. Unbelievable statistics. Was completely out of breath at the end of the game and had a heck of a spike on the ground. and had this face of determination, looked like kind of freakish, actually. It made me laugh. It was quite comical. But Rhett, in all seriousness, this game, though, it was exactly the same. The Cavaliers
factor was
were in control.
The factor was in this game, Steph Curry could not hit a shot. For the love of him, he could not hit a shot. 5 of 23. He had 19 points, but he had 7 of those at the free throw line. But wow, could he not hit a shot?
And you want
that right there was.
You want to know what led to him not being able to hit a shot? The outstanding defense by Matthew Dellavedova, who is my player of the game in this game. Down the stretch, the Warriors win this game if it is not for Matthew Dellavedova. Not only did he have incredible grit and defense, but he came up with huge rebounds. He came up with huge points and free throws toward the end of the game. Relentless defense. He shut Steph Curry down.
He did, and I'm surprised he didn't take a cheap shot. But he's a dirty player.
The dirty player hit at him.
Yeah, he's a dirty player. But Iguodala, he talking about great defense. He was another one that had great defense throughout that game, and we have to make sure we touch on this, Kyle. Festus Ezeli, what the heck were you doing?
Festus Ezeli. What a great name.
What kind of dunk did you missed a two-handed slam.
It was hilarious.
What was it? At halftime? Goodness gracious. If he would have knocked that down, I think they would have went into overtime again.
No. You're thinking of Maurice Spates.
Oh, Maurice Spates. Yes.
Mo Buckets.
Yes.
He didn't get it. And you know what? And I was laughing about this too because you could see it. He was thinking in his mind, oh my gosh, I've never had a breakaway like this. I need to count the steps in my head and think about everything that I don't mess up. Oh, he was watching. He was counting his steps, making sure he did everything. He thought in his mind the dunk's the easy part, but he thought too hard about it all, and it was hilarious, and I still never get game-changing plays. It's plays like that, but you know what? The Cavs didn't give up on defense there, did contest that dunk, chasing him from behind. And what's incredible, I will say this, not only did Matthew Dellavedova have an incredible game defensively and really took this team on his back to make sure that they won the game, but it was LeBron throughout the whole game. But Iman Shumpert is one underrated defender. He comes up with big plays constantly. A great defender he is. Had a couple plays where he batted the ball away, the steal at the end of the game. That type of play Iman Shumpert adds to the Cavs and just makes them more of a threat because of their defense. And I was just very impressed overall with how they played in this game. And quite frankly, series tie 1-1 going back to Cleveland. Watch out, Golden State, because not only is my prediction still Cavs in 7, that's not going to change with Kyrie Irving out. This team's proven that they can win without Kevin Love, without Kyrie Irving. Quite honestly, I think they might have a better chance to beat the Warriors without Kyrie Irving. So I think that it's going to depend, as we preview Game 3 here, I think what it's going to depend on is, okay, now Cleveland's at home for 2 games. Can they get the kind of home court advantage and fan support that the Warriors had to give them that extra edge? Also, can the Cleveland hit their shots? Can LeBron James not score 40 points and this team win? That's going to be the key to me. I mean, can he get support from a J.R. Smith, who had a terrible game? And by the way, I want to mention really quickly, boy, did he try to lose the game for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, my gosh.
I do not understand why J.R. Smith is in the game at the end of the game on defense. He makes some terrible decisions. They did a compilation of his bad decisions. It was hilarious, man. He made terrible fouls. He literally almost cost them the game.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, I was thinking, wow, thank you for J.R. Smith being in the game. Maybe we could get a 2-0 series, and it was about to be a 2-0 series because J.R. Smith just totally thought he had to step in and jack up stupid stuff, defensively wise. Fouling Klay Thompson at the end of the game, knocking down the three.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
Well, Game 3 is tomorrow night at Cleveland, and that's my keys to the game is can Cleveland get support from the surrounding players? Can LeBron get extra help? Can Dellavedova be a helpful clutch player like he was in this game? Can Iman Shumpert and J.R. Smith, can they hit some big shots? Can J.R. Smith have a much better game? Can Mozgov continue his great play? And as the big man, and can Tristan Thompson keep grabbing rebounds for this team? Because I tell you what, if they keep getting second and third opportunities, they're going to be in good shape. And LeBron's going to take over. This place is going to be wild in Cleveland, Ohio, in Quicken Loan Arena. It's going to be a wild environment. It's their first playoff game in many years. LeBron led them to their first playoff victory in Cleveland last night. Now can he get them their first victory at home? I see it happening. My prediction is the Cavs win and take a lead in this series to go up 2-1. I think that they're going to win by about 10. That's my prediction.
Wow.
What about you?
Still with Warriors in 5.
Warriors in 5? Would you change it? I thought you had Warriors in 6.
No, I had Warriors in 5.
Oh, okay.
But I do. I still have a standing. I think me and you are on mutual on this, Kyle, that our prediction was overtime every game.
Well, you did tell me that, and so far it's worked. But if you have them in 5, that means that you don't see Cleveland winning another game.
I don't. I think that LeBron's going to run out of juice at some point.
That's a bold statement, Rhett. At home,
he's going to run out of juice.
Come on, son.
He's going to run out of juice. Klay Thompson is not going to have another bad game like that. Klay
Thompson had a great game.
I mean, Steph Curry, he's not going to have another bad game like that. Klay Thompson absolutely killed it.
He did.
In the last game. And,
caught fire.
I think it's going to be a heck of a game, but I'm still with Warriors in 5.
Warriors in 5. Well, we're definitely on a disagreement there. I don't think many would agree with you on that, but hey, that's okay. I'll be interested to see. I don't like LeBron. I do want the Warriors to win, but I respect what this man is doing with this team.
He's absolutely killing it.
And to carry the load for this team without their 2 other superstars, it just goes to show if he can complete a first championship for this Cleveland team with the players that they have without their stars, incredible.
This would be
the
define
his legacy.
Championship he's ever won, no doubt.
It would be incredible. First season back in Cleveland to turn this team around and to take them.
I don't want to see it, but somewhere deep in my mind, I'm kind of pulling for him. Yeah. But it's very deep. It's very deep.
I can imagine that it would be very deep, Rhett. But it is for me. It is for me too. And quite frankly, seeing all of the antics, he's always whining for a call. When he gets blocked, boy, did the defense of the Warriors come up big. Draymond Green. Get that stuff out of there. He multiple times you could tell LeBron was getting frustrated because he was trying to go in like a locomotive and he just did not finish.
You mean Donkey?
Yeah.
From Shrek.
From Shrek. He's got more jokes today.
Oh goodness, he does look like Donkey from Shrek though. Goodness gracious.
Oh my gosh. Well,
good stuff.
It is good stuff. So Game 3, Rhett. So really quick, then I have Cleveland winning by about 10 to go up in the series. What's your prediction for the outcome?
I'd say Warriors in overtime win by 4.
Wow. So he's sticking. Write it down, everyone. He's picking an overtime game for every game, and he is 2 for 2, and that is pretty impressive. Now he didn't tell me, so I don't. He might be making this up.
My other friend, I told him, I even told Kyle the other day at the first game, I told him that I have the Warriors, I have that series going into overtime every game. Whoa. And I'm standing by that.
That's good. You should stand by your pick, just like I'm going to stand by mine, and we will see, and we will talk about the next couple games on next week's show.
Yeah, they tell you right.
It will be interesting to see a week from now who's right, who has the lead in this series. Are the Cavs done? Because by next week's show, if your line of reasoning would work out, Rhett, then the Warriors are NBA champions. So, or just right up to it. So on the
right
brink,
around there,
it's going to be interesting. Or will it be the other way around? Like I think, because I'm going to tell you my prediction right now. I don't think Cleveland loses one of their 2 home games here. I think they're going up 3-1, going back to the Warriors. I think that the game that they do lose, because I have to stick with my 7, I do think that they lose their Game 6 at home, but I think they go to Golden State and win Game 7 to win the championship.
That's bold, Kyle. It's not easy to go to Oracle.
It's not.
Not easy. And as Draymond Green's mom would say, you don't have to leave San Francisco, but you got to get the heck out of Oracle.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to be saying.
That's right. Well, it will be interesting. They've proven that they can go to Oracle and win, and certainly should be up 2-0 right now. So to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they can win anywhere. We'll see how this goes, and so can the Warriors. So that's what it makes this series so intriguing. We will see with that. Right, let's kind of transition into a different professional sport here in this next segment. And let's talk about the upcoming NFL season. I love me some football, and I love me some NFL, and I love me some Colts. So I want to talk about this upcoming NFL season. I know you love you some Cowboys, so I'm sure we'll get to that, because I do have a question for you about your boys, because that's what they are. They're not men. Let's see. Let's see what we're dealing with here. But before we get to talking about our teams, there, I want to see, who do you think will suck again? Because there's always a handful of teams that just seem to suck every year. So who do you think are those teams this year?
Oh boy. I think that the main team that's probably going to stick out to me that's not going to be good, and the first just comes to mind, is going to be the Raiders and the Rams.
The Raiders.
I think those are the 2 teams that stand out to me the most. They don't do too much, especially the Rams. I haven't seen too much from them, but the Bills are another team. Goodness gracious. But, I expect the Redskins to have a better season this year. And it's going to make things, competitive with the Dallas Cowboys and Eagles. And
I want to know who you think sucks, Rhett. We'll get to who will be turnaround teams, but let me tell you something. I'm a little surprised about a couple of those teams that you mentioned right there, because the St. Louis Rams are on the rise. And
on the rise?
They were a team that was without their number 1 pick in Sam Bradford again, and they had one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they are improving every year. I think they're going to be one of the surprise teams, because Sam Bradford's going to be back and healthy for that team, and that's something we're going to disagree on there. We're not going to disagree on the Oakland Raiders. They're a laughingstock of the NFL. They will suck again. There is no doubt about that. The Buffalo Bills will be better again, and they didn't suck last year. I believe they finished 7-9, which is a big improvement from them, and they play in a very tough division.
Still not great.
No, but they play in a division with the New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins. So it's a tough division that they play in, and they are getting better. And I'll get to that in a second, because we're going to talk about teams getting better.
Who is your worst team, Kyle? Who is the absolute worst team that you think of?
The Oakland Raiders are the absolute.
That's your absolute worst team.
The Oakland Raiders will be the worst team. It's not going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, because they did get Jameis Winston. They made a couple off-season moves. I think that will help them. They won't be as bad. Yeah. They're still not going to be good.
Yeah, they finished 2-14 last year.
Yeah, they won't be. They will be better than the Oakland Raiders will. There's no doubt about it. The Oakland Raiders will be the worst team in the NFL. The Redskins will be better, but we'll get to some turnaround.
Do you have your Chicago Bears down there also?
No, the Chicago Bears will be much better next year. There's no doubt about that. But let me just let me go over some stats of, and this is why there should be no faith in the Oakland Raiders and why they will suck again, because it's bad. Excluding last year, in the past 10 years, the Oakland Raiders have the worst record in the NFL, 49-111. Absolutely atrocious. Why would you think that they'll be much better and not suck? Other teams are up there. The Detroit Lions are a different team now. They won't be as bad as they were, but boy, were they bad. The Cleveland Browns could use some turnaround. They've been bad for many years. Third worst record in the last 10 years, 51-109. The Rams are right ahead of them, but are getting better, like I said. The Bills above them, and then the Redskins, the Buccaneers up there. So plenty of teams that have really struggled as of recent. But no, there's no doubt about it that I think that they will be better. I'll tell you a team who won't be as bad next year is the Atlanta Falcons too. So I'm going to get into that. But the handful of teams, there's no doubt about it. The Oakland Raiders will be bad again. Mess at coach every year. Mess at the quarterback position. No real solid players on that team. They just can't get it together. There's no doubt about it in my mind. They will be another bad team next year.
Oakland Raiders?
I will say it'll be the Oakland Raiders will be the worst team in the NFL. And then I will say that the Buccaneers will not be great. They'll be in the handful of 5 or 6 teams that probably doesn't have more than, let's say, 5 wins. I will say that the Cleveland Browns, once again, I just don't see this team turning it around.
Oh, my. See, that's one of my teams that I think that's going to be able to turn it around. I think that they will be able to. It's an interesting one, Kyle. I disagree on that one.
Hey, that's okay. I think the Jets, I think the Jets will be better than they were last year, but I think that they will not be very good again.
Agreed.
So we got about 5 or 6 handful of teams that I really see being bad there. But I want to say
I did hear that my boys weren't in there.
Yeah, but I want to say even the St. Louis Rams finished 7-9 last year. So again, and they have a very tough schedule, and they're in a pretty difficult division themselves. By the way,
they finished 6-10.
Yeah, and they play with the Arizona Cardinals, the Seattle Seahawks, and the San Francisco 49ers. And yet I believe they had one of the best division records against those teams, and they had one of the best defenses in the NFL, and this was without Sam Bradford. This team will be better next year. Definitely won't suck.
We'll see.
And so we're going to disagree on that, but there's no doubt about it that the Oakland Raiders will suck, and that's a given. I think the Redskins will be better, because now let's talk about teams that we will see that will kind of turn around or be surprise teams. And when we say surprise teams, I don't mean necessarily turning their season around from. I'm talking like they may make the playoffs, may even make a run. That's what I want to know. We've mentioned teams that we think will be better and not as bad as last year. I agree with the Redskins. RG3 is going to be back. Quite frankly, I picked them ahead of your boys. So that's going to be interesting. Actually, no. You've
got to be kidding me.
I have the Redskins finishing last in your division, but I do have the Giants finishing ahead of you guys because I think the Giants is one of my surprise teams.
Yeah, they're going to be a surprise team.
This next
year.
Agree
with. I'll agree with you on that, but man, I would have had to come over there and slap you, Kyle, because RG3, I think he's done, but I think they're going to improve a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be back to what he used to be, that type of level, and they'll do a little better than 4-12, but not too much better.
I see them being about 7-9, but they will be a better team. There's no doubt about that.
I'd hope.
The New Orleans Saints will be a better team next year. That it's weird calling that team being a surprise team because they've been very good every year since Drew Brees has been there. But I think he will definitely turn that team around and will be, you could say, a surprise team that could make a run because I would put them in that category. I already mentioned it. The Atlanta Falcons will be a surprise team. They were 6-10 last year. That's not going to happen again. they have the calm, cool, and collective Matty Ice at quarterback. He will lead this team into the playoffs next year, and they could make a run. There's no doubt about that. I mentioned the New York Giants 6-10 last year. That won't happen again. Eli Manning will turn this team around again. They had some good offseason acquisitions. Victor Cruz will be back and healthy, and I think that this team will be well improved. The New York Jets were 4-12 last year. They will be better than that, but they will not be a surprise team. They will turn it around, I will say, but I don't think that they will be a surprise team. But I will say this. Hey, that's great. I love that you agree with me, Rhett. That's exciting. Yeah. So who is your biggest surprise team then?
Biggest surprise team?
That will make a run, make the playoffs and make a run.
Well, even though I don't like them, I'm going to have to go with the New York Giants. New York Giants, they got some great acquisitions, and then Victor Cruz coming back. I think it's going to be a very competitive NFC East little battle, and that's my surprise team right there.
Hey, that's a good one.
That's one that I think that's going to have a turnaround. Now I think it's going to be a very tough battle for Dallas and the Giants, but I still have to have my boys pulling ahead. But it's going to be a close battle between them. I think those are going to be the two teams that are going to be battling together in that conference or that division.
Well, there you go. I'm going to mention another team. I think the Minnesota Vikings will be a surprise team last year. They finished 7-9 in a very tough division in the NFC North.
Adrian Peterson's back.
Adrian Peterson will be back. Teddy Bridgewater proved that he can lead this team, and he adds a scrambling ability for this team. They have a great new coach that I like a lot, and I do think, sadly, though I can't stand them as a Bears fan, being a rival, the Packers will be atop of the NFC North once again. And I think that the Vikings have potential to move ahead of the Bears and the Lions in this division. It will be very interesting to see. The Lions will be right there fighting with them. There's no doubt about that. They are every year, but the problem with the Lions is they can't prove themselves in the playoffs. They can have a great regular season, much like the Cowboys, but they can't prove themselves in the playoffs. So I don't.
I'll slide on that one.
I'll see them fighting each other there, but I do think Minnesota will be a surprise team next year.
They did say Adrian Peterson is looking better than he ever has, so that's looking great for them.
Yeah, that sure is looking great for them. I already mentioned it. St. Louis, I think, will be a surprise team this next year. It doesn't help that they play in one of the toughest divisions in the NFL, but they had one of the best defenses last year in the NFL, and they will have Sam Bradford back and healthy. This team is on the up and rise. I do see them being a surprise team. I could see them making the playoffs and maybe making a run, but I do think it depends on Sam Bradford's health because he just cannot stay healthy. And it's sad with all the talent that he has, but that's one of my bigger surprise teams there for sure. And then I'm going to say it. The Houston Texans in my division is my other surprise team to battle with the Indianapolis Colts. J.J. Watt is the best defensive player in the NFL. He's a freak, and he will continue to lead this team on defense. They made some good players. They're going to have Jadeveon Clowney back and healthy on defense. They have a lot of quarterbacks, and they finished 9-7 last year, despite quarterbacks' inconsistency, including Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Mallett, Tom Savage, and Case Keenum. 4 different quarterbacks. They're going to be under second season under Bill O'Brien, who I think is a good coach from Penn State. I think this team will be much better than last year. They'll be competing. They won't win the division because that's the Indianapolis Colts again, but they will be a surprise team that I think will make the playoffs in second place there. But that will be another thing that I see happening, Red, as a surprise team. But I wanted
Hopefully
to see
they take your team down, but
if you have any other surprise teams that you see this next year?
Surprise teams. Well, I would agree with Houston. I think that is another surprise team. J.J. Watson, he's an animal.
Yes, he
but
is.
But the Minnesota Vikings, I could see them making a push. Also, I think we are in agreement there, Kyle. They're going to be a pretty tough team next year.
Yes.
But I disagree on the St. Louis Rams. They will
that's okay.
not be a surprise team.
We can disagree with that. It'll be interesting to see who ends up being right about that. But the thing is,
do we got a prediction, Kyle?
We're going to get to that prediction, but I want to hear first a couple teams that you think will regress this next year. Who do you think will not be as good? Maybe even and regress to the point, let's say, that won't even make the playoffs.
Oh, well, it really, I'm going to say New England on a contingency that Tom Brady's suspension either, if it ends up getting lifted, they won't, they're going to stay the same. I think they're going to be great. But, if he has his suspension locked in, I think that could be a team that might not make the playoffs, especially if they end up upping his suspension. That team right there. Do you agree with that, Kyle?
No, I don't.
Wow.
The New England Patriots will make the playoffs again. That's absurd, Rhett. That's asinine. As much as I hate them and can't stand them, that team is not going to miss the playoffs again.
I expect Tom Brady to get more than 4 game suspension. I think that right there is just set until they gather more information.
And if that's the case, so then that would mean that you believe that the teams in their division, the Miami Dolphins, will end up having a better year. The Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, you think those teams will knock the New England Patriots out of the playoffs?
Depends how much of he how
you just got done saying you think the Buffalo Bills will suck again.
Oh boy.
You just you said that the Jets will improve, but will they really improve that much? And the Miami Dolphins will be a team that I think will be the one competing with the Patriots.
But, like I said, it really depends on how long Tom Brady gets suspended. I think that he deserves more than 4 games. I think that you don't really think that he should get more than 4 games, but I think he needs to be set an example of. So I think that if that happens, I think the New England Patriots might drop down, and maybe the Miami Dolphins might be able to swim up there.
I like how you did that. That's funny, pretty funny.
But
yeah,
other team is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I agree with that. That's the first one I was going to say. I do not see that the Steelers will not make the playoffs this next year. That will be the Ravens division. Ben Roethlisberger is getting older. The team's defense was proven that it was not nearly as good. I do not think the Pittsburgh Steelers will make the playoffs. They will regress this next year for sure. And so we are definitely in agreement on that one.
The Panthers, I think that they won't be making the playoffs either.
That's a good prediction. And a lot of people were predicting. I was reading that the Panthers have a Super Bowl run in them. I don't see that happening. I'll agree with that one. I think the Carolina Panthers regress this next year. There's just not enough talent around Cam Newton on that team. They do have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and that will keep them alive. But I agree. I think
the Saints are going to have progress in their season. I think that they
and
will have
the Falcons will finish ahead of the Panthers in that division. And
good little prediction, Kyle.
Yeah, so I could see them maybe finishing 7-9, 8-8, somewhere in there, but it won't be good enough to make the playoffs. So I do agree with that regression. So let's kind of get into our Super Bowl predictions and playoff runs, and this is my favorite part. If you could have guessed, Rhett, and it's for good reason. I mentioned it on the past couple shows, Rhett. The Indianapolis Colts will be in the Super Bowl this next year, and they will not be taking on your boys. No, they will be taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Until somebody proves in the NFC that they can finish off Seattle, then I'm sticking with them to get to the Super Bowl. I think the best team that has the shot is the Packers. But until I see it, I'm still sticking with them. And the Indianapolis Colts, is there anything else to say besides that we've improved by one game in the playoffs every year, made it to the AFC Championship this past year, so naturally the next step is the Super Bowl. I'll have you know that we are the favorites to go to the Super Bowl out of the gate, and that is to take on the Seattle Seahawks. And for good reason. Our division isn't as strong. The Houston Texans will be competing with us, but let's face it, the players that we brought in will help to secure not only that we will be the number one offense in the league this next year, but we brought in a couple key defensive players as well to help add to this defense. But let's face it, Trent Cole being the biggest one. But Frank Gore and Andre Johnson just is icing on the cake on offense, and so there's really nothing else to say. I believe in my Colts, and I believe in the progress that we've made. And it is worth mentioning, because I already mentioned that I do value winning. In the past 10 years, the Colts have the second best record in the NFL at 111-49. With 9 winning seasons and 9 playoff appearances and a Super Bowl. I'm a proud Colts fan, Rhett, and that is what I predict for my Super Bowl. 50 winners. And not only that, I'm going to go a step further. The Indianapolis Colts win their second Super Bowl in the past 15 years. Andrew Luck is hoisting that first Super Bowl trophy as the MVP of Super Bowl 50. That's what I see happening. What about you, Rhett? What's your Super Bowl predictions?
I see two great teams going to be colliding. All right, Kyle?
All right,
I'm
ready for it.
And I will agree, even though I hate the Indianapolis Colts. I will say
some respect.
Yeah, just remember I hate them.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
I do think that they will make it to the Super Bowl. I do that, they've brought some great people in. They're going to be taking care of business this year. And I think that my prediction is they will finish 13-3.
Oh, good. I didn't give a prediction, but you know what? I like that. I'm gonna pick
13-3.
13-3 at the worst, 12-4. But I see the Colts going 13-3 this next year.
And I am going to pick from the NFC.
Here we go.
The Dallas Cowboys, baby.
Oh,
Dallas
boy.
Cowboys. They're continuing to improve, adding better people to their defense. Now, they're a little weak in the running back position, but that can be worked on. They have plenty of money to get a great running back.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Rhett, because that transitioned into my question that I had for you.
Excuse me, I'm not finished.
Your Cowboys, I have to ask this because you just mentioned it. Your Cowboys just got rid of the best running back in the NFL. So my question for you is, Rhett, do you think your Cowboys made the right move getting rid of Murray and keeping Dez Bryant, or will it backfire?
Boy, that is a great question, Kyle. I think both. I wish we could have.
Keep in mind that Murray went to your rival, the team I think is going to win your division, in the Philadelphia Eagles. So keeping that in mind, do you think your Cowboys made the right move?
He's not a very healthy player, but
he looked pretty healthy this last year.
He's relentless. Actually, he had surgery on his hand, but he played through that, and it's really gonna. Dez Bryant, he's an incredible player, and you know that. And
I do.
I think Dez Bryant.
I do. I respect the talent.
I respect what the general managers are doing, and I will stand behind them. But I would love to have had DeMarco Murray on the team still. And, I actually can't stand him now that he's on Philadelphia. So I think that they did make a pretty good choice now. Now, Dez Bryant has not signed his contract yet, so there might be an issue with that.
Wouldn't that be real juicy for your Cowboys, that they stabbed DeMarco Murray in the back, and then he, in return, stabs them in the back by going to their biggest rival, arguably.
I would not say that they stabbed him in the back.
But
That
what if Des Bryant ended up leaving? You guys would be left with nothing. And Tony Romo,
best defense in the NFL. That's what we'd be left with.
they will
but
not
our
be the best defense in the NFL this next year.
They'll have the best defense. It's even been talked about. They could have the best defense
Could.
in NFL history, and
won't.
I believe in that.
The Seattle Seahawks will have the best defense in the
I
NFL
don't.
this year. I'll put you guys in the top 5, but I'm not giving you the best defense. I might even put the St. Louis Rams defense ahead of your guys, and the Panthers for sure.
Oh my goodness! Just the incompetence.
But go on, Rhett. Go on with your prediction and why you believe the Cowboys will be playing my Colts.
My prediction, the Cowboys versus the Indianapolis Colts in the Super Bowl. I believe that the Cowboys, I think that this game, if our predictions come true, and those two met in the championship, that would be one of the best championships I think it would be to watch, especially for me and you, Kyle, just because we would be together and we'd be watching that game. But
I'd love it.
Our defense and your offense, and you guys. Your guys' defense has been a work in progress the past few years, and it's continuing to increase. But
it will be better this next year because of the acquisitions that we made, especially with Trent Cole. But Robert Mathis is going to be back and healthy. That will help a lot. I don't know if we'll be a top 10 defense, but I think we'll be hovering right around the 10 area. But the fact of the matter is I respect the pick, and I hope that works out. I don't think that's how it will go, but if it does, that means that your Cowboys will prove that last year was not a fluke, that they can advance, that Des Bryant can actually score a touchdown, catch the ball instead of drop it. And
oh, my God. That was a shot, Kyle.
And that
Shots
they
fired.
would meet the Indianapolis Colts in the Super Bowl, in which I would agree, if everything works out and Bryant's back and they get a decent running back and they're as good as you're thinking they will be, then that would make for one amazing Super Bowl.
Yeah, and, there is a rumor that Ray Rice is looking, that the Dallas Cowboys are looking to sign him. So he could potentially fill that running back position.
Wow.
And boy, would I like to see that.
Oh, I bet you would. Well, that'll be interesting to see. Hey, Colts, Cowboys. All right, so then
Dallas Cowboys will be raising that trophy.
So then I had to ask. Well,
Tony Romo's prediction that they will have the championship held this year, I stand by that. Tony Romo is, he's made his bad decisions, but they've put too much pressure on him as a quarterback, and they got to get somebody that can run the ball in there. And if that happens, Tony Romo is going to be balanced. The offense is going to be flowing. One of the best offensive lines in the NFL.
That's true. I will not disagree with that. But
Thank you.
You know what? We'll disagree on the Super Bowl teams meeting and certainly the outcome in the Super Bowl.
Now,
but that's okay.
I would say that the Seattle Seahawks they're going to be a tough team to beat again. So
they will, along with the Green
Bay
Packers.
Dallas Cowboys took care of them last year, and they can sure as heck do it again this year.
You know what? They can, but you guys did lose to the Green Bay Packers again, and that Packers team is going to be solid this next year once again because they have that bad man at Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and I see those teams being the best again in the NFC. I do agree with that. Believe me, that just goes to show how much improvement I think is going to be in the NFC. Because even though I picked you guys finishing third in your division, I still think the Eagles are going to be an incredible. They're going to be finishing first in that division, but they're going to be very good. I predict that the Giants will finish ahead of you guys, but if it's not a tie. And they had the tiebreaker against you guys because they seem to have your number all the time, then it would be maybe a game ahead of you, but a solid division is what I see happening next year. So don't just think I'm just disrespecting your Cowboys, even though I am, because I love it. But I'm not fully because I do believe that you guys will be back. But you'll make the playoffs again, but you will not prove that you can do it 2 years in a row. to get an advance with a victory. You'll go out in the wild card at best.
No.
That's what I see.
That's where we disagree, Kyle.
That's
where we disagree.
So we
I showed some love. I showed some love to your Colts, and that's about it.
We can agree to disagree.
We can, and we will.
And that's good. And we will leave it there. It will be interesting to see how that plays off. But let's transition right into this next segment here. This is a juicy one too. My favorite word of the day. Maybe my favorite word ever, juicy. I mean, how many things are juicy? It's phenomenal.
Steak.
Juice itself, a steak, that's a good point. Fruit, it's phenomenal. What did Tiger Woods mean when he said, I'm going to go out and try to win instead of going out to compete? Now, I will say this. I didn't see this post-game, this post-tournament day interview, and I wasn't able to find anything that he actually said those words, but he did talk about where he think his game is at and going into the Memorial Tournament at Mirrorfield Village Golf Club this past weekend, supposedly feeling pretty great. Well,
I think he's lost his marbles.
He didn't, because he made history, but not the way that he'd like to, because on Saturday he shot a career-worst 85 that included a quadruple bogey, 8, on the 18th hole. Tiger Woods is no longer relevant in the game of golf. I'm going that far. He is at rock bottom right now. Let's face it, the last major he's won was back in 2008 at the U.S. Open. The last PGA Tour win that he had was at the 2013 Bridgestone Invitational. Rhett, it's hard to watch. As my favorite golfer, I can't stand to see it. He is playing awful, and then to make comments around this nature, I don't know what he's thinking, because if he's saying he's going to go out and try to win, well, you're not doing that, and you're not even getting close to that. Instead of trying to compete, well, you're not competing either, because after days 1 and 2, when you try to make the cut for the weekend, you're hovering around 1 and 2 over. I mean, he's that bad where the field is running away from him, and he's over par. And he's trying to just fight to make the cut. That's what his game's been like this year in his 5 events. What do you think of these comments, Rhett?
Well, I thought it was absurd. What kind of person doesn't go out and try to win? That's like LeBron saying, I don't really want to win this year. I think that we'll let the Warriors win.
Exactly.
I think that, I think he's just trying to cover his butt from him sucking. And I think that me and you have talked about that before, Kyle. No person in their right mind would not go out and try and win in a competition setting.
No.
And I think that he's just covering his butt because he's played awful.
He was. I mean, that's atrocious. A quadruple bogey.
That makes us feel good.
That's something that makes me feel good. 8. I'm actually mad when I get 8s on some holes. I like to stay I like to shoot for the bogey, double bogey golf, but if I get a triple bogey, all right, I'm fine. If I get a 4 over, I'm pissed. That's how I feel. So
exactly.
Tiger Woods has lost his game. It's awful to see. I hate to see it. But then, Tiger, just keep your mouth shut about this. You're making it look worse for yourself.
No kidding.
Like, to make comments like this, they make no sense. You're not doing either or. No one believes you. You're a professional. It's your career. Of course you're going out there and trying. You're covering because you've been playing awful.
That's
so
like telling
you're on an injury or whatever.
It's like telling your boss, "Oh, I'm not really trying today."
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm trying to skip out on this one.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go back and take a nap.
That's what I think. I see it being like that. That's how bad it is. Let's face it. 2015 has been worse than 2014 even for him. I mean, he's played 17 rounds of golf in 2015. He's had 2 scores in the 80s and only 3 in the 60s. It's been a bad season for Tiger Woods. And just to get a little more in depth in it, he's played in 5 events. He's had 1 top 25 finish. He's made the cut only 3 times. He's been cut now twice. He's making $187,000. He's 196 in the FedEx Cup standing. His world ranking is even worse. Rhett, he is falling off the golf radar.
He sure is, and it's sad to see. But I guess this is instant karma from him having that family issue, because that's
You've
when it
mentioned
started.
that before.
That's when it started. He's went downhill from then. I've talked about it with many people, and they agree with me on that one. It's fallen down since that family issue.
Oh my gosh! Well,
I believe it's karma.
And maybe it is, but let's face it. In his round Saturday, he had that quadruple bogey. He had 2 double bogeys. He had 6 bogeys and only 1 birdie.
Makes me feel good.
It does. It really does make you feel good. The great Jack Nicklaus, who Tiger Woods is trying to chase, said, when you're not playing that much and you don't have confidence to start with, it just multiplies. Well, that's definitely true, and you know what? That's part of the other problem, I think, with Tiger. He's not playing in as many tournaments as I think he needs to be. He takes too much time off. The U.S. Open is now less than 3 weeks away, and Tiger Woods is maybe at the worst point of his golf career.
Agreed.
I mean, that does not spell winning another major for Tiger Woods, let alone contending. 1 top 25 finish. It's just been so awful to see. And the worst part about it is, until Saturday, his short game had improved quite a bit. Which has kind of been his Achilles heel throughout his career. But he had done much better putting. His chipping wasn't as bad. What's killing him, and this has quite frankly killed him throughout his career, is hitting fairways. When Tiger Woods is not hitting the fairways, it's proven that he struggles. And I can attest, and you can too, when you're not keeping that ball in the fairway, it's tough to dig it out of the rough every single hole.
Oh, yeah, especially where they're playing.
Exactly, and it takes a toll on you mentally. Like, wow, can I not get a ball in the fairway? Can I not have a good lie? I mean, you have to exert so much energy in your swing, more energy in your swing. It's really been like that. So, I don't know, Rhett. It's not been good for him, and I guess we'll see if he can turn it around. But those comments certainly, like, whoa, what are you talking about, Tiger? Rock bottom talk there. That's what we call that. Let's transition, Rhett, into our last segment here. How has Roger Goodell handled the past 2 seasons with all of the off-field issues surrounding the league? Rhett, I can pretty much keep this short, sweet, and to the point. Awfully.
I agree.
Roger Goodell, people are calling for his head. He has had an awful last 2 years. Probably the worst out of any commissioner, head, leagues, organization, top dog, you name it, out of professional sports that there is. He's made some awful decisions. He's been in the head of dealing with cases of Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson, the numerous domestic violence cases that go along with these. Ray Rice has mentioned, Adrian Peterson's, Greg Hardy's, Des Bryant's even in a little bit of trouble. That keeps resurfacing. That'll be interesting to see what happens with the Cowboys there. Ray McDonald. Rhett, the list really does go on and on with the issues he's had, and that sums it up. It's been awful. Aaron Hernandez, you've had Aaron Hernandez, you've had Asar Walcott, Sam Hurd, Kellen Winslow, Darrell Washington, Josh Gordon, all of those players there in trouble with the drug policy violations. I mean, and they've been reoccurring. He made the wrong call with Ray Rice and kind of double jeoparding him. Then he had to cover his butt. It's been bad for Roger Goodell.
Yeah,
I see his time coming. I see his time coming to an end pretty soon.
Yeah, and I think it's in the top of one of his worst moves was back in 2013, hiring substitute refs.
Good. You reminded me of that. Good point.
Yeah,
Awful.
that is one of his worst decisions, I think. But other than that, it's the domestic violence that has surfaced, and he has done awful in taking care of it. He's more worried about, taking away TD celebrations And, just stuff that really does not matter.
Rules and things that he's quite honestly, trying to cover for himself, too. Not to mention Tom Brady as of recent in Deflategate.
Yeah.
That's the newest thing that's going on. And I will say this, and he has to cover his butt now. He had to immediately make a decision, and he said that he likes Tom Brady a lot, but there's no room in this league for cheating. So he immediately gave him a 4-game suspension. And he had to. He had to make sure I need to give him enough. I've been on the hot seat. I can't get this one wrong. So he did that. He made the right decision with Tom Brady, and possibly could be worse. We'll see how this appeal process goes in a couple weeks. But it's been a terrible tenure for him.
Yeah, but one of his better moves that I have seen that he has done was creating a fund to take care of retired NFL players.
Yes.
And that one right there, I think that was a step in the right direction, but it wasn't a big step because he's done so much wrong that it was more of like a little tiny step. But
exactly.
that was something that I did like, and that was one of the things. Not very many things that he's done that I like.
Good point. Exactly.
And you touched on all of them, Kyle.
And that really sums it up pretty quickly. It's been brutal for him, and those are among the issues he's had to deal with, and has made some poor decisions with them. So we'll see how his tenure goes at this upcoming NFL season, and how the rest of the offseason plays out. But tell you what, he's on the brink here. He's on the brink of being canned. So we'll see Roger Goodell what he can do this next year. But that is all that we have for today's show. An hour goes by quickly, Rhett, when we're talking sports.
It sure does. It was fun.
It was fun. It was great, like always. To recap what was talked about on the show, we discussed the NBA Finals. We talked about the upcoming NFL season. We chatted about Tiger Woods, and we chimed in on the status of Roger Goodell. Thank you for tuning into our show. Feel free to leave feedback, as we want to be able to address comments and questions on the show. Tweet and retweet the show at Kyle M. Newman, at Rhett Hensley, and at Indiana Pacers Talk. We will be back at it next Monday by 8 Eastern Time. I'm Kyle Newman.
And I'm Rhett Hensley.
Have a good night, and go sports.
Go Dallas.
Go Colts.
Go Dallas.